Your audio is not coming. ऑडियो नहीं आ रही अभी। चेक योर ऑडियो सेटिंग एक बार। या वीडियो इज कमिंग। वीडियो लाइव यूट्यूब पे भी जा रही है। जस्ट ऑडियो का सेटिंग एक बार देख।
तू ज्वाइन कर अपने से,
हाँ
तब
जूम
पता
मीटिंग आईडी
पड़ेगा ना
बता दो
कि
यार फटाफट। सुनो जूम
ऑडियो और
मीटिंग आईडी
वीडियो
बता
बहुत आ रहे हैं अभी, मतलब आ रहे थे।
दो। अरे मीटिंग आईडी बता दो दीदी
अच्छा
पहले।
सर को मीटिंग आईडी, सर मीटिंग आईडी 976 9004 2364, पासकोड 24247872।
उसको घुमाना पड़ेगा या पीछे वाला कैमरा यूज
पीछे वाला कैमरा यूज करेंगे।
हेलो सर, कैन यू हेयर मी? मतलब आ रहा।
यस, योर ऑडियो वाज
करना।
कमिंग।
ओके ओके, ऑलराइट, थैंक यू सर।
हाँ आ गया। नहीं नहीं, वो अपना आएगा ना, उनका कैन बी नो नो, इम्तियाज has to speak. Imtiaz, can you just speak for a minute? Hello.
आपने म्यूट किया है।
Imtiaz, morning. Can you just speak for a minute? We just have testing the audio.
Yeah, good morning. This is Imtiaz here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you here. Done? Yeah, we are good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just need another 5 minutes to start.
Right, no issues.
Are we good? Yeah, Sachin. Power is coming. Speaker coming.
Good evening, esteemed attendees. It brings me immense joy to welcome you to day 2 of ACM India Chapter Summit 2020. Today's program is designed to immerse you in great vast realm of technology, encouraging your minds to navigate and uncover answers that you truly worth exploring. I'm Yash. I'm honored to stand before you as one of your hosts.
Hello everyone, I'm Ananya, partnering with Yash to guide you through the thrilling adventures that's await. Day 2 of ACM Summit promises captivating panels, discussions, networking opportunities, and hands-on experience in some of the most triggering tech topics. Brace yourself for rewarding exploration into the realms of technology. We would like to call upon Sachin Sir to kickstart the proceedings.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So welcome back, day 2 of our summit. Like yesterday, we have a great start to the day waiting for us. So India's welcome.
Thank you, Sachin.
Yeah, I mean, we would have loved to have you with us to the person here. But we are glad that you could at least make it and you are joining us virtually. So welcome. So friends, let me just quickly introduce our today's speaker, Imtiaz Ali Khan. So Imtiaz is a graduate of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He joined Vikram Sarabhai Space Center ISRO in '99, and he contributed to new propellant formulations and brain designs and processing techniques. In fact, he was awarded ISRO Young Scientist Award for the year 2010. He was also awarded ACM Gold Medal in the year 2011. Later, he served at the Embassy of India, Paris, as a counselor for space, and he contributed to enhancement of bilateral relations between India and France in the field of space. Then he also represented India at the UN Council for Peaceful Uses of Outer Space in Vienna. He was then officer of special duty at Department of Space, Branch Secretariat at New Delhi. He then has served as a group director for biomedical research, pre-administration and training at Human Space Flight Center, the astronaut training facility that was established and commissioned in January 22. And for about last 1.5 years, he is the director of the Directorate of Human Space Flight Program at ISRO headquarters, and he is responsible for driving programmatic commitments, interagency collaboration, and related affairs. I'm going to give over my name here. I remember the sheer excitement we had when Rakesh Sharma spoke to Indians from the flight, space flight, the first Indian in space, and he told Indira ji that सारे यहाँ से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हुआ. So I still have goosebumps when I'm speaking this. It's amazing now that where ISRO is, and with the latest success we had, I think it's on top of everyone's mind. So we are really grateful and delighted to have you, and we'd love to hear from you about next big plans ISRO has. And we are a lot of young crowd here, and maybe some of them are going to be your colleagues at ISRO. And who knows, maybe one of them is going to be in space sometime. So over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Sachin, for that very elaborate introduction. So yes, I would have loved to be there physically. And initially, I had thought of coming over to Jaipur because I haven't seen Jaipur so far. Even though I was there for around 3.5 years in Delhi, but it was very busy period, and so I couldn't travel to Jaipur. But then there was a lot of engagements here, so I couldn't travel. But all the same, I think it's an absolute pleasure to be connecting with you all virtually and presenting to you. So today, during the presentation, I'll be giving just a brief overview of what our human spaceflight program, Gaganyaan, is all about. And then where do we go? Beyond Gaganyaan, what do we have? And just share my thoughts on that. And it would be lovely if I can, see some of you joining here. I think we have plans to take on board scientists, doctors, and people from all walks of life in future. So this is something that is going to be a sustained space program. So with these two words, I'll start the presentation. So you can just confirm that you can see the screen. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I think Sachin was mentioning about Rakesh Sharma, and yes, he continues to be an inspirational figure for all of us. You see him on the picture on the left, and he is a member of any of our committees. And whenever he comes in, we all have to be as close as possible to him and to learn from him. To even after the presentations are over, we bring him to our office and we speak to him at length. And he really enjoys sharing whatever information, whatever experiences he has got. So I guess the seeds of Indian Human Spaceflight Program was sown back then in 1984 when he traveled on the Salute 7 mission for a mission duration of 7 days. Even though ISRO did not have anything to do with this, but it did bring in some sort of minimum ideas, minimum thought process, and some small facilities here and there to come up during this period. Especially, I'll touch upon later. I think in terms of some of the selection procedures for astronauts, some of the medical things required, Air Force shaped up their aerospace medicine department, and they now started procuring something even related to space medicine. And there is some commonality between that. And then he also did yoga on space. There was this Defense Food Research Laboratory which developed some of the space food packets for him. So these were few things, and the wealth of information that you get from such experiences is something that you keep on sharing whenever you talk, whenever you discuss. So depending on the question, depending on the situation, many new things come out. So when we talk, so that way it was a good experience for us. Now, ISRO, in terms of human spaceflight, I think there is a bit of dichotomy here because we have always thought of space as something which can be used for socio-economic benefits. So we never thought of like space for an arena where you can compete or you can establish the supremacy and things like that. So we always thought of using space for communication, observation, space science and things like that. But over the years, when we started doing missions like Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, and all, we also had this sort of confidence that essentially the technology is required. We are trying to prove in all these missions. And why don't we also try thinking about the human space flight mission? So I would say in 2006-2007 period, the first report on possible human space flight mission for India was prepared. And since the government at that point of time sort of it was not one a very priority thing, so we more time to think about it. So we continue to the technology demonstrations. So one of the major technologies that we demonstrated was in 2007, where we did the space capsule recovery experiment. So for the first time, we took spacecraft beyond Earth's atmosphere and then brought it back. Re-entry was carried out, and therein we could qualify some of these thermal protection systems, also the design, the aerodynamics of the entire capsule. So we got very good confidence from this mission. And as we were working on the building of launch vehicles, we graduated from JSLV Mark II to JSLV Mark III vehicle, and this gives us what an enhancement in payload capacity. So we went from around 2 ton to GTO to 4 ton capacity, and for the low Earth orbit, we could achieve something like 10 ton capacity. And this was crucial for human capsule to be carried to low Earth orbit. So with the first flight of JSLV, we conducted a mission called as the CARE mission, the Crew Atmosphere Recovery Experiment. So this was another mission to demonstrate how a crew capsule can be brought back. Then we had a pad abort test, which was again a critical thing. So all these technologies we demonstrated until 2018-19 period. With this, we rewrote the proposal to government, explaining the vision, scope, execution strategy, and things like that. And this was in 2018. I think Honorable Prime Minister in his Independence Day address made an announcement about this. And subsequently, we put up the cabinet note, and this was approved as a national endeavor in December 2018. So this was very different from the earlier missions, because earlier missions were restricted to Department of Space, but clearly this was something that required participation from all departments, institutions. So this had to be a national endeavor. And what briefly the cabinet approval said was that we are aiming at a sustained and affordable human and robotic program to explore the solar system and beyond. So even though we mentioned about solar system and beyond, I think we need to go step by step here. So we start with the lower orbit. So to extend human presence across the solar system, starting with human space flight to lower orbit. And initially we're thinking of just a demonstration where it can be maximum of 3 crew. You can have 1, 2, 3, and at least one orbital period, but maximum of 3 days we can go, along with certain microgravity experiments. And since it's going to be a human mission, there have to be at least 2 uncrewed development missions in the identical configuration, because it is required, it is mandatory to demonstrate it sufficiently before going to the human mission. So we will have 2 unmanned missions before the crewed mission. This is what the configuration of Gaganyaan looks like. On the left, you have the launch vehicle. So it's the launch vehicle Mark III, but it is human rated. So in terms of human rating, there are a lot of margin improvements, enhancement in number of tests to improve the reliability. In some cases, the operating pressures are reduced, the installation thickness is increased. So thereby you sacrifice some of your payload capacity. But all this is required to do the human rating of the launch vehicle. And most importantly, you have to do a series of tests. Number of tests goes up enormous. So you can see in terms of the launch vehicle configuration, there are 2 solid propulsion stages, which are HS200, human rated S200 stages. Then you have the liquid stage in the middle, which is the L1 stage, and the upper stage is cryogenic, the indigenous cryogenic engine, C25. Then inside the fairing, you have the orbital module, which is there on the right. The orbital module has 2 parts. You have the service module, which houses all the propulsion system, the heat exchangers, the radiator panel, and things like that. And then you have the crew module, where you can see that there is that yellow dress, there is a human being which is in the reclining position. So that is how the crew is supposed to be there. And it is designed to take all the orbital aerodynamic loads, the IG values, and things like that. The orbit that we are planning is the 400 kilometer circular orbit, which is almost the same as the International Space Station at an inflation of 51.5 degrees. And we want to recover it preferably in the Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. So we are planning to see that in the 15th, 16th orbit, it can land in Arabian Sea and then subsequently in Bay of Bengal. So there are 2 orbital opportunities. So what does it change for us in terms of going from normal space stations to human space station? I think philosophically itself, there are a lot of changes. If you see in terms of design philosophy, we go from a rocket which was purely performance driven to something that is human centric, which, as I said earlier, takes a lot of changes. We are no longer thinking about optimization alone. Crew safety is of paramount importance for us now. And systems reliability we been doing all along, but now more important is human rating. The payloads that we carry are not something which you just shut and forget, but these are experiments, and these experiments will involve not just human beings but also animals, microorganisms, plants, a lot of things. So that way, it is a lot different from a normal mission. And it's not just about engineering anymore. We need to think about science because microgravity brings a lot of opportunities for scientists and also medicine. Then, at all points of the mission, there has to be a thought to bring back the crew safety. So this, we need to think about all the stages: the launch vehicle stage, the orbital module stage, the descent. At every point of time, if something goes wrong, we should have something available to bring back the crew safety. So as I said, crew safety becomes the main focus, and to address crew safety, we try and do it at various levels. Of course, at level one, we try to see that human habitation needs in space are met. No single point failure results in loss of mission. So you go for redundancies everywhere. In terms of avionics packages, normally in the missions you have a redundant chain because you have a sort of double redundancy. But here, in some cases, you go for triple redundancy, and wherever it's very important, like the launch vehicle things alone, you go for quadruple redundancies. So that goes up. And crew health has to be continuously monitored. So this is the first aspect. But in the second level, of course, the crew has to be trained of the flight rules and procedures. They have to have enough sufficient practice. So they have to be trained on simulators, and they have to have a knowledge of operating environment. Not just that, they have to get practiced in this. So there have to be chambers where they get used to wearing their space suits. They go to the hyperbaric chambers, hypercarbonic chambers, centrifuges, things like that. Then they need to be aware. So they have to be aware about all phases of the mission. And at the end of it, survival, you don't take a chance. So you aim for something, but something else happens. So you need to train them for sea survival, for land survival, for desert, forest, all these things. Then there has to be psychological and aeronautical training. And at level three, of course, you have all these redundancies, structural margins. The mission profile has to be within physiological limits for a human being. What you also try and do is in a normal mission, you can afford to have some phases of communication gap. But here you need to have continuous communication throughout the mission. So 100% visibility. And vehicle health, there has to be an autonomous vehicle health monitoring and abort capability. There's a lot of improvement in the Q and QC protocols. And this is an entirely new vertical for us, human factor engineering and autonomy. So this is something we've been coordinating with many national institutions on this and learn from people who've been already doing, like Aeronautical Development Agency, National Aerospace Laboratory, even in Air Force, there have been dealing with this. So we've been trying to learn from them. And the most important thing is the contingency measure. So vehicle health monitoring and end-to-end post-state capability. And then roles for the crew. At some point of time, if the crew feels there's something going wrong, even if the ground teams are not aware, they should be able to initiate an abort or intervene with the systems. Now, in terms of execution strategy, I said there's a lot of testing requirement. Of course, we've gone through the human rating part of it. The launch vehicle is human rated now. All the propulsion stages are human rated. Even the orbital module propulsion systems are human rated. A lot of qualification tests have been done, a lot of functional tests and simulations have been carried out. And now we are at a stage where we are testing it in flight, like flight testing. So test vehicle stage is what we are doing right now. And the most important thing here is the crew escape system and the parachute-based deceleration system. This needs to be fully validated before the uncrewed mission. So once we do this phase, we will be doing the uncrewed mission. And in October this year, on October 21st, we had this first test vehicle given mission, which was successfully accomplished. Here, there was a launch vehicle which was propelled by a liquid stage, and this took the crew module to a 17-kilometer altitude, and it had some pillbox conditions of achieving a particular Mach number, 1.2 Mach number, and it had to be released. Then the module was separated from the launch vehicle. There was a jettisoning of the thing from the crew escape system, so the high altitude escape modules took it to a safe distance, and they landed with the deployment of parachutes within a 10-kilometer range from Sriharikota. So you can see that recovery operations using the naval ship is also being carried out, and that was the recovered crew module after the mission was completed. So what we found was that it was end-to-end, it was a good mission. We did not have any major anomalies, and the post-flight analysis of the test vehicle, the closed state system, and the crew module has been completed. In fact, we are also, because the health of the crew module is good, we're trying to refurbish it so that we can use it in the next pad abort test. So that way, it gave us a lot of confidence to go ahead. Now, one major thing that we need to work upon, which is new for us as a whole, is the life support system, the onboard life support system. So, environment control is important in terms of controlling, trying to maintain an atmosphere which is as close as possible to Earth's atmosphere. But also, you need to budget the entire, requirements in terms of food, water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and things like that. So we need to know how much we consume and what is being given out by the human body, and that needs to match and it needs to be accounted for. So you can see that for one man per day, this is kind of average the requirements in terms of oxygen 0.9 kilogram, dry food of 0.6, then net water intake. So all this needs to be matched with the things on the diet. For this, we have to have a system of systems, like simply it is called as environment control life support system, but there are multiple systems acting here. So there is a thermal and humidity control system, there is cabin pressure and control, cabin pressure control system, there is an air revitalization system, which has, which can regenerate the carbon dioxide. So there are absorption columns for that. Then there is ACM, the controller overall, ground service equipment for that, environment monitoring, so multiple set of sensors to monitor the levels, and simulations have to be carried out, and multiple human-centered products which are required on board, including the flight suit. So the flight suit is again like one crew module. So if something happens in the crew module, the flight suit becomes a backup option, and it has got some limited period in which it can be sustained. And the idea is that suppose there's something seriously wrong with the crew module, then you can put on the flight suit and you can initiate abort. The crew will still have some period, something like 2.5 hours to initiate abort and come back safely. So those are kind of measures that we have. These are some of the human-centric systems, and these are all being developed indigenously, apart from the flight suit, which of course we procured from the Russians. But other than that, the emergency survival kit, the fire suppression system, all these are being developed by various national labs. Many of the DRDO labs are involved in this. Again, for crew seat is a very important thing because crew seat needs to make the crew comfortable, and you need to think about not just the G roads that are coming, but also the direction of G roads. So now we understand that in particular directions, the human body is capable of taking more loads than the others. So normally you want the crew's chest. So normally the chest it has higher capacity to take loads rather than the spine direction or the shoulder to shoulder direction. So that is how you want the configuration of the crew seat to be. But apart from that, it needs to have set of attenuators so that on impact, wherever there is a shock coming, it is able to take those shocks and make the crew comfortable. So this is something we are working with the ARAI, Automotive Research Association of India. And we're doing this exercise, so there will be again a lot of drop tests being carried out for this, apart from simulation and modeling. Of course, for training, we need to have microgravity platforms. I was saying when the Rakesh Sharma went to space, one of the Surikran aircraft was modified to do this microgravity flight, the parabolic flights. But we need to have a new platform now, because that is required even for some of the experiments that we want to carry out. But apart from that, there are other small large scale equipment like the clinostats. So clinostats, I think some of our institutes have. IAC has a clinostat, and IAC Mechanical Engineering Department has got a random positioning machine. Then we need to think about drop towers. Some of our rocket upper stages, like the PSLV upper stage, can also be used for microgravity experiments. And then you need to have the space-based platforms, of course. So there are new areas which we are entering into, and we really, as of now, do not have the sort of bandwidth that is required to take up all these things. And this is how we're trying to collaborate with many institutes. So space medicine, AIMS wants to establish a department. Then maybe Harvard Medical College. We have our own Institute of Aerospace Medicine. So the crew safety is of highest priority. And if you see during the space mission, almost every part of human body gets impacted. So the bones get impacted, the bone loss takes place, muscles get weaker. You have your cardiovascular system getting impacted. There are complaints about kidney stones. For long duration missions, the eyes, there is a sort of loss of vision. People have complained that after 6 months or so, when they're coming back, they're not really able to see the same console which they were able to see during their mission upwards, ascent phase. So almost every part, human body part gets impacted. And this whatever knowledge base we have is of course mostly from space station and the missions carried out by the Americans, Russians, and Chinese. But Chinese literature is not so much elaborate. And still there are a lot of things which are to be sort of researched on why this happens. The good thing is that once they come back and they go through this rehabilitation period, they are able to come back to the pre-flight phase. And there is nothing that is irreversible to me. So that's a good thing. And there is no data to show that really there is sort of lifespan reduction or things like that that is taking place. So those things are encouraging. And of course, astronauts, by virtue of being astronauts, they are also closely monitored. Their health is closely monitored. So that also is one of the reasons why there is no really substantial data to show that their lifespan increases or they really have some destination normal increase. But the important thing to sort of note here is that while these changes are taking place in orbit, there has to be something fundamentally changing inside the human body in terms of chemistry, in terms of metabolism, which is causing those changes. And that is what makes it so interesting because those changes in any case also take place due to aging on Earth. And in microgravity, these changes are taking place faster. So if you try to study that, then there might be some sort of correlation possible and will have implications for many diseases, many old age related problems. And this is something for our country, next 10, 15 years, we're going to see a very large majority of aging population. So this is of interest to people in the medical field as well. Of course, we are training the crew. We established a small training facility here. So they've got the physical systems, classroom sessions, they've got some crew consoles to train them about the mission. But a lot of things need to get added here. We also need, right now, we're sharing some of these facilities with the Aerospace Medicine Institute of Air Force, the Hypoxia Chambers Institute and all that there. But we also need to establish because in the country we lack such facilities. So this is something that we are working on very seriously. Then after the mission, the recovery trials, of course, I think we have enough institutions. So what we tried to do was we created a national body, an interagency body for crew recovery, and Indian Navy leads this effort along with the Coast Guard, the Shipping Corporation of India, Incois, and things like that. So this is, I think, going in parallel, and we realized some modules, the mock-ups for this crew module, for which various series of testings have been done. How do you bring back the crew module? How do you take out the crew? So now, and there is a facility in Cochin, in the naval base, which is called as the Water Survival Test Facility. So this is a very good facility where you can simulate different sea state conditions, and the divers try to sort of attach tackles to the crew module, lift it, and bring it, and what it takes to reach there. All that can be studied, but nothing like actual sea. So once we've done these exercises, we also need to go to open sea, harbor, middle PD, because many things change in the open sea. So even when the test making mission was done, see initially, of course, the thermal camera it shows the images of the crew module falling down. So we could locate the module fast, and then there was the dive that was coming out. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to really locate, even if a 3-meter diameter module is there. From a top, from a height, it's not so easy to locate that. So this is something of interest to all the institutions. I think it gives us a very good platform to do microgravity experiments. As of now, for the first unmanned mission, we have shortlisted some of the experiments. And for the second mission also, there are a few experiments that are shortlisted. So we're trying to study this food flight, Drosophila melanogaster, which has some similarities with the human kidney. They are called Norwegian tubules, which have similarities. So we're studying that. And also the third one, mediated control of cellular and organelle physiology. This is also of interest, and the subject is same, the food flights. But then also in terms of chemistry, crystallization is a very interesting subject because you don't see phase separation taking place there. So it's possible to have uniform sized nucleus crystals and good crystals being formed. This has implications for drugs manufacturing. Then the heat dissipation mechanism, the interfacial stabilities. So these are other important studies that are being carried out. And for the subsequent mission, we have received a proposal from IAC, which is on Manas, so that is like a lab on chip experiment. So it's very promising, and now when we are having discussions for the International Space Station also, a lot of biotechnology proposals have come up. So as we see today, it has already become kind of a national effort. 9 laboratories from the idea of working. Then we have Indian Aerospace Medicine. The astronauts themselves, all 4 of them are from Indian Air Force. They are test pilots. They are helping in job testing, food recovery. Indian Navy and Coast Guard, IMB, NIOP, NIO, many institutes for internal testing, cruise seat impact tests. Then many of them for the onboard experiments, and of course the industries as well. And where we go from here is like today, what we could have, some more integrated aircraft tests and test vehicles, and perhaps there will be the first unmanned mission next year sometime. Then, depending on how it comes and what are the observations, we are going to have one more, 2 more unmanned missions, and finally the manned mission. But government is thinking even beyond, like we don't stop with one manned mission. Maybe there will be follow-up manned missions, and perhaps we are looking at widening the astronaut pool itself. So it will not be Air Force pilots. In the next stage of selection, we will go for other things of defense forces and also paramilitary forces. Then maybe we could have in the third phase of civilians also joining as astronauts. And perhaps we look at having our own small space station. And the government has vision of even sort of landing man on moon someday. So these are all thoughts which are still not like approved, but we are already thinking in those directions because the work has to start and it has to go on parallel. You can't wait for one thing to be completed to start another. So thank you. That is my small presentation. We'll be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, India's thanks. That was great to know. Awesome to see so many different government agencies coming together, collaborating on such a high profile, such an important mission for the nation. So really, I mean, it's very inspiring. We have a big audience here. We have time for, for
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to, so this is a bit online, they are sort of sitting in the auditorium. So let me just call them and see if there are questions. Friends, any questions? Not, I mean, you are okay even if we have some questions on the webinar, right?
No problem. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You can come. Introduce yourself and science and from so I'm interested in how and what implications of the human research development for the life of the system as ISRO been developing in the so that is
Yeah. So the life support system, of course, we thought that since it's a new area for us, it might be good to sort of import from, let's say, Russia or America. But what happens is it's a very sort of customized system. So one has to design as per your two-module dimensions. The packages have to be accommodated inside your module. The other system, the heat exchanger, radiator, the condenser, all that should be accommodated inside. So it's not always easy to just take it as a bought out and fit it. It's not possible. There are a lot of pipelines, a lot of valves coming in. So we started discussing, but then in terms of the design cost, the realization cost, and the time schedules, it was not working out for us. So they were giving like 3 years, 4 years for development. It was too much. So we started developing it on our own. And I just showed you the slide that there are multiple systems there. So today where we stand is, I think, on the thermal and humidity control system, we have very good handle now. So we have been able to test both the loops, in the condensing loop and as well as the non-condensing loop. So both loops we have been able to test. The cabin pressure control system is also coming along nicely. We have not had an integrated test for the entire system, but as each component, the pumps, the valves that are coming in, all those have been tested nicely. And also the air revitalization system, I think I would say we've almost completed the development work for the revitalization system. So in the next mission that we are planning next year, there will be a demonstration of the life support system as well. It will not be to the full scale because this is an uncrewed mission, this is the first mission, so we go step by step, but we will demonstrate at a subscale level. So I guess you will be able to see at least the thermal and humidity control system and the cabin pressure control system demonstrated to a certain extent in the next mission.
so for that. What other system has ISRO been developing because the availability is generally developed like prior to the developed as that always use the battery like right? And so what other systems has ISRO developed specifically for the
So there are many systems like the crew module, as you said, that's the most challenging one because for the first time we have to have the crew inside. Many of the packages we are developing new for the mission. Then there is crew seat assembly. So the crew seat assembly for the first time we are trying to develop that. Then there are viewports. The viewports are important because it's not just the glass itself, but the sealing mechanism for that, the flange version or the rendered version. So the viewport design becomes critical. And for evaluating the human factors, there are multiple things. A lot of sensors coming inside. The ergonomics is entirely new. The console itself, the human machine interface. So far, what we have shown is like automatic systems, but for the first time, we need to have a console where the crew has provision to interact. So, for example, you can have propulsion systems to control the flight path angle and the altitude for and the attitude for the crew module. But that can be done in an automatic manner. But now the crew has to take a decision and he has to intervene and try to operate some of the thrusters. It becomes very difficult because some of the thrusters need to fire for milliseconds kind of a time. So how does the crew control? So there has to be some, kind of a stick or let's say a touch screen kind of a thing or a mouse click. So for a very short period, so the crew has to be trained for that. So these are all new systems that we need to develop. And training itself, or as I said, microgravity platforms, the hyperbaric chamber, all those things have to be developed. So there are a lot of things that have to be established. And the most important thing where we really haven't progressed much because the first mission is only demonstration mission is we have to develop facilities for space biology research, space medicine research, astrochemistry. Those are the fields that future will make it sustainable, will make the program sustainable. So those can be common facilities for the country. You can establish something where other institutes can also come and test their systems. So that kind of approach here.
so in the very helpful in that and like bring question, which involves participation of machine learning and bioinformatics for this for space research program, because I'm definitely interested in space and I have been doing biomedical research with machine learning. So what's the future for that?
So biomedical is definitely important. In fact, so far we did not have vacancies for biomedical engineers, but because of the Gaganyaan coming up, we are creating some vacancies. So we've given a list of all these fields: biomedical, also biotechnology. We need some doctors as well. So all these vacancies we are creating, and we've given a note to the government to approve. So maybe some of the vacancies for engineers can be converted to these fields. So you would have seen there are two, three things trying to happen in parallel. One is a lot of involvement from industries is coming in and trying to realize launch vehicles and satellites. Some of that might get offloaded to industry, which is already happening. Many of the new industries are trying to take up. So we will move into a direction where the industries will take bulk of it. And ISRO as an agency will focus more on human spaceflight and exploration missions. So you will see that a lot of these vacancies for biomedical engineers, biotechnology research, also for some of the doctors, they will be added up in ISRO, and the related facilities will also come up. So any modeling, I think one very good area. See, we were trying to evaluate the cognitive loads for the astronauts. So it's not something that you can do, with conventional tools. So one of the IC professor has come up with this thing that you can use the EEG and eye tracker data, and you can train it to give you values. And initially, you start with some kind of relative study. You subject two subjects to different kind of conditions in terms of changing the light illumination levels or font size and things like that, distance to the screen. But later on, you have to have a software. So this is where machine learning and all will come into play. So I guess this is a very important field for future.
One last question I just brought up, public sector, private sector, and is there any component of program being privatized or any of the private sector companies taking part?
So not in Gaganyaan as such, but I see, because I have been going through some of these discussions and all, so I see that there's a lot of interest in at least two areas. One is space tourism. There are some private industries working very seriously on space tourism in the country. So they want to start with something like balloon-based flights and all, sort of suborbital or higher atmosphere kind of studies. And then they want to graduate to space-based tourism. The second thing is astronaut training itself. We know even for smaller, balloon-based things also you will need some sort of training. So there's an industry in Mumbai who want to start their own astronaut training. So they are starting in a way. From biotech side, I would say there are some startups. In fact, there is a cluster of startups here in Bangalore, which is associated with the Institute of Stem Cell Research. They're doing very good work. So they are also thinking of some good proposals, but they will contribute. But for one industry to take up something as expansive as this and as diverse as this, it will be difficult. They all can take up some one particular area and fit into the mission. But I'm sure in the future, like other countries have done, there will be missions like SpaceX can do launch vehicles and some Indian company may be able to do. So there will be a possibility.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Imtiaz. I have one last question for our audience here. Let's say someone wants to join you. What paths they have? How do they approach this?
Okay. So I think you can join. There are multiple ways of coming into it. So one is if you've done your 12th standard, you can appear for the JEE exam. Apart from IITs, there is IAST, the Institute of Space Science and Technology. So that is one way of entry. So IAST, most of them get placed in ISRO. They get a job in ISRO. So one is that way. But if you've done engineering outside, any other college also, not just IITs, any college. Then we have this board called as ICRB, ISRO Centralized Recruitment Board, and there they take all branches, electronics, mechanical, civil, chemical, computer science, all the branches, electrical. So that is another way of, and it is like publicly notified. You have all India level exams. If you have Jaipur also is a center, Delhi of course is a center. So the exam is conducted nationally and followed by an interview. Apart from that, there are also campus selections. So the selected campuses, the team goes and it selects depending on the postgraduate level and PhD, so you don't get a graduate level. So that is another way of joining. So these are different ways of running the organization.
And Cynthia, again, this was a wonderful session, and let's start to our day today. It's very, very impressive what ISRO has achieved and what its vision is. We as Indians are very proud of ISRO and all of you who are doing this stellar work, literally. So, congratulations, thank you, and we hope to see you in person, maybe in one of our future events. So, let's thank the speaker again. Thank you. Very good, yes. And we'll close this call now. Someday soon we'll meet for sure. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so here's just one small announcement. As ACM, we have this initiative for all our speakers. We have tied up with an organization called 14trees.org. We planted trees in the name of the speaker. You will get that information over here. And it's all very high tech. You can actually have an app and you can monitor the progress of your tree. This is the foundation team Pune. We'll soon reach out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Great. Bye for now. Now we have parallel sessions coming up at 11. There are some announcements to be done.
So we'll be taking a short break. And one more announcement that the QR for reimbursement will be shown here during the lunchtime. So if you have anything for the reimbursements, you can take the QR screenshot. Thank you very much.
Okay, so first there are parallel sessions now between 11 and 12. One session is for faculty, one and professionals. Another is for students. Okay. So the faculty session is about writing mini research proposals. This session will be conducted by Professor Vivek Borkar and Professor Sudip Mishra. This is going to happen in a lab. Lab number 213, and volunteers here will guide you. Students will come back to this very room here in the auditorium, and that session is a panel. It's about building your profile for a dream career. This session will be moderated by R. Venki, and panelists are Nitika De, Prashant Pansare, and Neeraj Sanghi. And look, we actually have a very hard time requirement now. I request everyone to be in their respective room by 10:55 minutes. Thank you.
Phone can proceed for the please.
Somebody will call me from the office. Who's the MC? None of us are using. अभी लगा so it was none of us stand. Not sit. Yes. Yes. And silver. Or table. Sir, table. Mic and everything. I'll get you 3 mics with 1 wire and 2 wires. Whatever works. Whatever works. How many mics will you? 4 mics will push it. एक audience के लिए. हाँ. Class एक audience के लिए. And I'll get 1 wire and 1 wire. मैं ज़्यादा बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ. One for audience and 2 mics. I'll get 4 mics.